Welcome to the Effortless Mindfulness Podcast. I'm Loch Kelly, and this is a show about awakening to the deepest dimension of who you are by bringing together ancient wisdom and modern psychology. In today's show, we're going to explore a topic that many people have asked for. What are the obstacles to awakening? And before we get into today's episode, I wanted to mention the free 14-day trial of the Mindful Glimpses app, which many people are loving as a resource to have a daily glimpse at your fingertips any time of day. I encourage you to head over to lochkelly.org or your app store to get your own 14-day free trial. Now, on to our show. So we're going to talk about obstacles to awakening. And certainly the first obstacle we're going to talk about is the obstacle of not having a complete map. So in this way, let me say something about what I mean by awakening. The first unique premise that this awakeness, this awake mind, this true nature, this authentic self is already here within us, equally within everyone. So this is the part of the map, but the map also, if it's a full map, doesn't deny our human experience. So it's not just waking up from to a kind of transcendent, disembodied witness. That can be the direction that begins to recognize this subtler dimension of mind and self. We can do it by dropping within the subtlest dimension, within our heart mind, within the space within the atoms, and then feel this interconnection. Or we can find a way to unhook awareness and open to this awake consciousness that is already like the sky. But then the full model doesn't stop at a mindful witness of changing contents, and it doesn't stop at no self. It doesn't stop at centerlessness or no thing or absence or headlessness. And it doesn't stop even at the next marker, which is pure awareness or awake mind. But the full model then discovers that that pure awareness, that awake awareness, is none other than form. So in Zen, they say form is emptiness, emptiness is form. In Mahamudra, they say it's the same taste, the pure awareness, the awareness that is prior to thought, what thoughts are made of, and ultimately is where we're aware from. The knowing that isn't conceptual is also interconnected or interdependent with the aliveness and interconnected with everyone else. So we go from a kind of a small, separate container of our body and a battery of energy and thought that is separate and feels like there's primarily our physical and emotional body is the only thing that we need to take care of, and we try to kind of clean the cloud of our mind and emotions up. And then we have this awakening to realize we're not just a cloud, but we're the sky. But then we realize the sky, which is awake and alert, non-conceptual, is also within the cloud and actually arising as the cloud. So it becomes more of this ocean of awareness arising as a living wave of our unique body that's connected through the ocean to everybody. This is what Thich Nhat Hanh called interbeing. There's a realization of unity mind or non-dual presence. And then the important fifth level is going from waking up from to waking to the awareness, to waking within to the interbeing or the interconnection or the embodiment. And then there's waking out to be able to be in self-leadership or from our true nature, or to live in this awake, loving flow. So awakening is not about meditation. Meditation can be part of the tool, one of the tools of awakening, but it's about living from our authentic nature. And so it needs a full map. And so if we stop halfway or part way and set up camp as if we're traveling across the US from east to west and we stop at the Grand Canyon and say, okay, that's a beautiful experience, let's just stay here. But we have to go all the way to connect the oceans and the land and the sky. So this awakening, so the obstacle is really feeling like that first awakening, that initial waking out, waking from to either no self or to mindful witness or to pure awareness is the goal. Whereas it's awareness that is unity mind, that's interconnected and alive and can become aware of the different parts of us. Yeah. So within this obstacle, the beginning and the end need to accept this human body and this the way that we live in the world, because what awakens is already awake. The awakeness is already awake, but it unfolds as a human experience. So there's an infinite, an intimate, a transcendent, and an immanent, a divine and a human are not two. So this first obstacle, when we begin, is important to recognize that that current system of our operating system of this ego center or this small self doesn't need to be gotten rid of or fought. It's not, it's being who we are is a delusion, but it's not ultimately an illusion in any more than when you look and meditate at a very deep level, your hand isn't really a hand. It's just awareness, energy, and form. And so is your ego. But when you step out of off the cushion or into the world or interact, your hand has a physical form. So does your body, which has conditioning in it. And your brain is operating with memory. And so the real question isn't about either or. So that's really one of the obstacles. That's either I'm caught in a human personality or I'm in this pure awareness, or I'm awake or I'm not awake. I got it, I lost it. So that it's always a mixture. It's always awakeness, always unfolding. And the real curious question is, who or what is this appearing to? If you were never to change any experiences, even trauma in your body and your experience, if trauma arose, which it will, so this becomes, the second obstacle is how to begin to include the parts of us that are our managers, our protectors, our exiles, or our shadow parts, and not try to zap them away or spiritually dissolve them, but to start actually by thanking them. So thanking our protectors, the part that's actually trying to be us, that's not us, but is part of us. And then the part that's afraid because it doesn't know what the next stage is. So to recognize, not just to move too quickly, to deconstruct, right? Because we know that if you deconstruct without recognizing this will return, these qualities will return, and that without finding the goal is the path, that the awake consciousness will be what can resource and be with these parts, but that they're not going away when you're living an awake life. They're just being unburdened or not as centrally coming up and taking over and looking through your eyes. But even when they do, there's a resource to discover that awake, loving flow that can be with traumatized part, judging parts, and not trying to take your spiritual temperature as if, oh, that, you know, anger or hatred or fear just arose, that's bad. I'm out of awakeness. Whatever arises from your human condition and may be detoxing, maybe needing to be listened to. The question of awakening is who or what is listening, who or what can bear what seems to be unbearable. So this movement from starting by calming your system includes both calming your nervous system, which is traditionally some kind of shamatha, peaceful abiding practice, whatever works for you. Some people use more yogic breath or concentration practice or exercise or physical yoga or qigong. Whatever that does to calm your nervous system is important, but more important in some ways for awakening is actually not trying to calm the parts that are initially afraid or strongly going to pull you back from leaving the current system, but to thank them, be with them, acknowledge them, and say, you got me this far. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. You're going to be part of the team, but we're going to upgrade so that what you're looking for, because there are no bad parts. They're looking for love. They're looking for connection. So these parts of us that in some systems we try to call negative or are strongly protective, and they're trying to make us safe and connected and happy, but they're confused. So that's the obstacle, is trying to repress them or deny them or think that awakening is something other than the full embrace. Yeah. So in one of the pith maps of uh, Dzogchen, they say confusion is the mind. The mind is empty. Emptiness is awake and aware, and awake awareness is unconditional love. So where we're going is safe, loving, optimal functioning presence, not pushing ourselves, not being taken over by or trying to escape the fullness of an awake human life. And then the third one is not knowing how to proceed, not knowing the method. So first, not knowing the map, not knowing the relationship to our human psychology and body and mind, but trying to transcend it. And the third is not knowing how to navigate the map or our consciousness so that when we do get triggered and identified in any moment, not having to wait until you go and meditate that evening or the next morning, but to be able to recognize that the awakeness within you can unhook from its identification intentionally in any moment and drop and open and be aware of whatever situation has taken over your identity, any location of identity, any fearful mind, judging mind takes over. So, very simply, you become aware. The first natural awakening is, oh, I'm caught in a state of mind or a part has taken over. Then you can ask that part, let's say it's a judging part, and you become aware, oh, I'm judging, I'm judging, I'm judging. Oh, that's a judging part of me. Can I ask for some space and be aware of it? Now, are there other parts in me that aren't judging? Yes. And where am I now aware from? Am I aware from the judging mind, or am I aware from this mindful witness? And then the turning awareness around is who or what is aware of the mindful witness and the judging part. So that movement, yeah, can come back. And then how do you feel from here toward the judging part, from this more spacious, pervasive, interconnected sense of self or mind? And what starts to happen is some compassion or bigger grandmother love or feeling of, oh, it's okay. That judging mind feels hurt. It's protecting this part that felt hurt. So it started to judge. Oh, okay. So I'm with those two parts. Okay. That's okay. I'm here. Anything need to be taken care of or not? And then sometimes once you get to know them, they'll know that you're here as the awake you. So this awake you is in relation to your own body, mind, personality that isn't one thing, right? Because that's often the psychological model tries to make the ego healthier and stronger. And some of the models of awakening say it's an illusion and there is no self and you should just go to no self. And then how do you do when you get off the cushion and walk around? You may have a calmer self, but you may have gone up to an intellectualization, what I call an intellectual bypass. Yeah. So spiritual bypass is one obstacle, which means you're just try to stay in pure awareness. Intellectual bypass is you try to say there's no self, but then you have to establish kind of a meditative ego or a mindful witness or a detached view. And the key is there's a you that's already here. And the process isn't creating it or developing it, but it is the Tibetan word for meditation is often translated familiarize. So it's just familiarizing, losing it, getting identified, no big surprise, knowing how to return and include, how to recognize you're triggered, how to step out, and then step back in. So this is the obstacle is not knowing that this is possible for you to do in the midst of your day, not just as a meditation, not having to become an Olympic athlete of meditation or join a monastery or do long retreats. You can certainly do sitting meditation or whatever else is good. Whatever you're doing that you like is good. Keep doing that. And then adding, once you have a simple map, what I call the 5 levels of mind, the 5 locations of self, the 5 kinds of awareness that are different. From everyday mind, you use attention like a flashlight, but from Unity mind, you actually feel connected to something from the field. You feel you're interconnected and you don't have to focus from the moving mind. So there's 5 levels of awareness and then 5 shifts of awakening, waking it up from, waking to the awareness, waking as the awareness that's with everything, waking with, and then waking out to create and relate. So each of these gives us a full return. It's kind of a identification, disidentification, reconnection, and then living from here and then getting triggered, getting losing it, having one of the dimensions of your body take over. So the first premise is that that your thinking mind and I think, therefore I am is not who I am. That thinking is, thank you very much, thinker. We will be very glad to have you part of the team. However, there is this beingness that is made of awareness, that is embodied and can choose to think or move or be still or just be. So this is the premise. And so the current constellation is there's a thinker or a doer or a problem solver that's trying to make us safe by scanning for danger outside, looking inside. What's that feeling of pain? What's the problem? Am I understanding what this guy is talking about? If I don't, am I doubting that I'll get it? Am I striving to get it too much? Am I trying to solve this problem? So here's the inquiry. What if you acknowledge that problem solver, thank it for trying to help, and let it know that we're not going to get rid of it, but we're going to consult it when necessary? Yeah. But there's a higher problem solving ability that sees more holistically. So if that problem solver can just relax and step into the background, ask it if it's willing to do that, and then have this inquiry to have awareness look what's here now when there's no problem to solve. So just let that problem solver rest. And then see if you can just feel the non-thought based, simple, alert, clarity. Some call it silence. If you use the ear, stillness, peace, openness, awareness. What's this that's aware when you don't refer to thought? Don't go to memory. Don't go one moment into the future. And not what you're aware of, but just rest back to feel what is aware without your help, this effortless mindfulness. So resting as this awareness, what's it like? What's the relationship from this pure awareness to the first vibration, like an ocean, sensation, thought, feeling, your body, and the room? Can you remain dropped and open and aware from the awareness-based knowing that is now alive, embodied, but doesn't need to create a thinker or a doer or a problem solver in order to be alert and here just now. And so from here, you could move your hand without having to think about the action. You could type. You could stand up. You could use thought. You could say to yourself, I am thinking this thought, and then let it go. Two plus two is four. Space, peace of mind, potential, not deadness, not zoned out, not shut down, clear in the flow, optimal potential, higher wisdom mind, heart mind, but peace of mind and embodied and connected. Yeah. So these are some of the obstacles and a taste of one of the ways to navigate that second obstacle of how to navigate. This is one of the many glimpses that we do, and many of them go through different doorways and work well for different learners and different people who have different um, ways of grokking this, of getting this, or opening to this. So this may have worked for you, maybe not, but there are many others that have the similar uh, result. That discovery of what is perhaps the biggest first discovery, which is that pure awareness that's effortlessly aware by itself without your help, is halfway there. It's the foundation, it's the nature of mind, but you can, once you discover it, you can escape into it. You can remain disembodied. You don't come back. So it becomes an either or, and you bypass. So you feel like you don't have to do the psychological work. And I'll, say something having that I think this is, taking that obstacle to its extreme is there's in Zen, they call it Kensho, which is kind of a first awakening. People have, if you awaken to that level. So we know as an obstacle why that is so detrimental, because we've seen many people who have had initial awakenings act out through violence, sexual predatorness, drugs, power abuse. I mean, a lot from all the different traditions. And I'll share here, obviously no specifics, but I've treated, a bunch of them, and I've treated a whole bunch of people who were, hurt by them, by this group of people. But so I was always, trying to relieve suffering, and discovered that it is that, and it is the map. When you think the map is, oh, I'm done, I've awakened from my ego, and now I'm awake because there's no problems and I'm free of that. And if I remain here, then it goes into kind of an intellectual version of it, that then usually the adolescent parts come up and take over them. So the exiles that didn't get what they wanted start to say, oh, now everything's relative, so I can just do what I want. And it doesn't embody, and it doesn't connect to the seeing from the heart that they're the same as me. We're all humbly the same. There's nothing to get, and there's nothing to, why would you treat anyone in any way except as, kind of a beautiful equal? So that's why it can be such an obstacle. How do you transition first to recognition, which is that glimpse where it seems like it's a thing, it's an experience. Oh, I'm aware of what's here now, and there's no problem solved. Oh, there's alert awareness. Then the next move is waking up to, or realization, oh, wait a minute, I'm not aware of the awareness. I am the awareness, and now I'm aware from it. And it includes the aliveness, thoughts, feelings, sensations, but the awareness is primary. And now can I, step off the cushion, and type an email or go get a cup of tea. And then when do I lose it? Can I return? So it's really going to be the, the first meditational system is inquiry or meditation or guided. Then you can do it by yourself, with yourself. Again, it's short and starts the training. So it's like, ultimately, this is like a developmental stage. So small glimpses, many times consistently, it's like learning to read. So everyone has a potential to read, but if you don't learn to read, if you never take some time to learn to read, you won't know how to read. But you could learn how to read, and same with awakening. You have potential to awaken. The awake consciousness is there, but the other habit is so strong. So the main obstacle is the habit of constellating safety and functioning is just going to keep coming back until you recognize in the midst of the day with small glimpses and learn how to take it into the world, go for a walk, just do something very simple. The awareness-based knowing has a joy or a connection, love or bliss, and then flow means optimal functioning, means you don't have to think about what you're doing. It's already programmed in. You know how to talk, you know how to walk. So you just walk without, and then the part will come in. Are you sure you're walking correctly? And then you're just like, thank you for sharing. And you just learn to kind of walk and talk and type and, do, and then you lose it. No big surprise. You just learn small glimpses, return again, practice again. And it's just like, the metaphor is like a scrim, with a light behind it, and just pinprick holes and light will come through. And eventually you just kind of start to, oh yeah, that's right. I'm caught in this usual part of me that keeps coming up that's worried about what am I going to do tomorrow? Okay, yeah, that's that part. Let me just thank that part for being concerned, step out, include it, let it know you don't need to worry. There's no reason. I'm going to sleep now. There's no need to worry. And it just goes, and then you just start taking it into the world. So off the cushion practice is really where we're going. And so this is the main thing, but it takes some of this other training. It's really surprising how simple the map is. It's not easy. Simple doesn't mean easy. It's a whole new thing. And the reason it's not easy is because the habitual system is so strong. And it's like, I'm keeping you safe. We gotta stay safe. Keep doing what you're doing. I got you here and you ain't dead yet. So don't tell me there's something else. This is the ongoing next stage. This is why it's not just either or. It's like, oh, I'm unawake. Oh, I had a spontaneous awakening, and now I'm just continually awake. I don't know anyone like that. I've seen people report that, and then I see them a couple months later. They're not. It was the initial awakening. That can happen spontaneously, but the integration takes some training. But it's not. It can be done in the midst of your life. That's the amazing thing. But it can take whatever time it takes for you to do that. But it's worth. What else are you going to do? and the results are quite amazing. The feeling is ridiculous. It's just such next level life that has gets to the root of existential anxiety and just like, oh, that's what's causing all my nervous system to go crazy. And then you notice if you work too long or your body gets stressed, is like, oh, that's because I work too long. Like, okay, so rest. But the trauma based and the existential mistaken identity relaxes into a sense of peace of mind and well-being and then functionality. So that flowing, living, joyous, enjoying waking up like a kid on summer vacation, going like, all right, another boring day of doing some stuff. Let's go. It's like the stuff I'm doing is not so exciting, but let's go, and there's a kind of a freedom that takes some markers for you to learn. Thanks so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed today's episode, rather than asking for a donation, would you please leave us a rating and a review on your podcast app? Ratings and reviews are really the best way to help us reach more listeners. If you're interested in joining me, please head over to lochkelly.org to learn more. And until then, be well.